Alex Revell, we published the retained and release list 2020-21 on Saturday. It's always a big decision for yourself and the club moving forward, and an emotional time to see those players leave who have given so much to the club.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough week building up to that. It's probably been my toughest as manager, to be honest with you, because we've got such a brilliant group here, and obviously the summer always comes and you have contracts that ended and players that emotionally you're connected to. So it was tough, but as a football club, we've had a fantastic second half of the season, and what we want to do is make sure that we take a step forward with the players that we have at the football club and that we bring in, and to make sure that next year we have a positive season and better what we did this year.
And I think most notably the player that we've seen released, Danny Newton, as well as another senior figure in Joe Martin. What are your conversations like between those two?
I think both of them are fantastic professionals. I spoke with Joe. I think when Joe came in, he came in as had a tough time at Northampton, and Cokes at that time had played a lot of games, a lot of minutes for him, and we weren't sure how Cokes would deal with that. And to be honest, when Joe came in, Cokes kicked on and showed to everybody, what he is as a player, what he is as a character. So time was limited for Joe, and then obviously in the game when he did play and we had a fantastic result against Forest Green, he tore his hamstring. So he was out then for a majority of the rest of the season. So it was tough for him to get in. And listen, Joe knows this football club really well. We were delighted when we signed him in January because he added to us, and he's been a huge part of why this club has had the success we have in the second part of the season. But I think for Joe it's important for him to see what's there and see what else is out there, and because he deserves it, because he's a top pro. With Newts, we all love Newts. We love his desire, his personality. He's scored goals this year, and most notably obviously Tranmere away, which was such a fantastic moment for him and for everyone. But I think for Newts it's been a really frustrating 2 years. I think that his injuries have held him back a little bit here, but when he's played he's never ever shirked any responsibility, or he puts pride into the shirt every time he wears it. But I think for him, he's a Leicester boy. The frustration of the injuries, I genuinely want him to go and see what's there. I do, because we all love Newts and we don't want to stand in his way. But we're still talking. Danny Newton's still in, with this football club. He means a lot to us all. We're still going to talk throughout the summer. And when that decision comes, that whether it's he finds somewhere else or it's here again, that will be taken up later on. But I think it was important for him to have some moments, have some time to kind of look back and see where he wants to be, because we owe that to him, because he's been a fantastic servant to us.
And another departure that may tug on the heartstrings of Stevenage fans, Arthur Ironton, an academy graduate, one of our own, burst onto the scene a few years ago, as well as another graduate in Liam Smythe, who's a youth international. Yeah,
I think with the younger players, we've got to be really careful. I think that you can either be brought into the first team too early or too late, and I think with both of those, it was very early when they came into the first team picture. So a lot of pressure has been on them to keep their standards and get in the team, rather than probably development and keep working hard on their game and making sure that they keep improving all the time, not just through games. And I think we've had quite a lot of times, especially with COVID this year, where we haven't been able to play as many games, and so they've stood still. But the important thing is that we treat people as human beings, and that sometimes you just have to let them fly the nest and go and spread their wings, and hopefully they go on to something else. We have to make decisions for the best of the football club, but we also want to make sure that we treat people well. So it's really important for both of those to go and show people and showcase their talents and see what else is out there, because at this moment in time, their game time is limited here, and as a young player, you don't need that. You need to play games, and so that's really important for them. And Arthur's a fantastic professional, fantastic young lad, and I'm sure he'll have a future in the game because his desire and his professionalism deserves that. And Liam again came on very early, and he needs to just find himself, find out kind of what he is as a player, and make sure that he listens to all the advice that the academy have given him, and he goes on to have huge success somewhere else.
And those other players like Billy Johnson, Jacob Bancroft, would the message kind of be the same for those young players that we didn't really get the chance to see? Yeah,
as with any young player, it's what you do now. We're here for them. We want to make sure we're here for them if they need any help. But you always get bumps in the road. There's not many roads that are really nice and smooth. You hear about them, and higher you go, but you don't tend to hear about the ones that have left and been released. And it's really important that they go and show people and get over bumps. Football's about that. You have to learn that in your life, that you're going to get ups and downs. We've all had them. When you finish, you can look back and you've had some really good highs, but you've also had lows. So it's how you bounce back. And football is a tough sport. It's a tough industry. You have to be at your best all the time. So it's really important for them to take in what's happened, but to go and show not only us, but all the people out there that they are good enough and that they can go and have a really successful career.
Now, moving on to the retained, having the experience of Cuthbert, Prosser and Norris as a spine to kind of build your squad around must be exciting as a manager.
Yeah, they're great professionals. We've worked hard. Pross and Scotty, two captains that you've brought together into one club. Both, brilliant, like I said, professionals. Great leaders, both of them. And Noz obviously as well has had many clubs. Feels like he's at home here, which is fantastic. We know he's a local boy, and what he's done is he's really grown as a leader in the group. You can see that in your games. You can see that his own disappointment has now been replaced by trying to help players and making sure that they're doing the jobs around the team. So it's a really good spine to build from. But obviously we have to make sure that we put players in there as well that can help those and develop the team. So that's what we're working really hard for at the minute.
Now you've got that experienced spine, but now you've also got more time to continue developing the likes of List, TVC, Jack Smith, Elliot Osborne, Ross Marshall as really exciting young talent.
Yeah, they're young. We've got the senior players this year have been fantastic with their help for the younger players, helping them through the tough times before Christmas and then keeping them level-headed when we're on a run that we were on. So, and I also think it's showing the way. Obviously, we've lost Romain, who was huge in that as a player, helping them and keeping the standards very high every day in training. So, someone's got to take that mantle, and Scotty and Pross and Noz will 100% do that. But the younger players look up to them, which is fantastic. It's a great place to be as a club when you've got younger players looking at older players and saying, that's how I want it. That's how I want to be.
And in terms of loan players returning to their parent clubs, they came in, did what we needed from them, and I think all in all really impressed at the Lamex. I
think we've done really well with our loans this year. Obviously we had two in January that unfortunately were injured and unfortunately got injured training, and we never really saw the best of them, which was unfortunate, but that happens. But you can go with Jamie, Romeo Hutton having a fantastic season, developed a lot as a human being. He's a young lad, Romeo, so he's developed hugely. Arthur Reed coming in and starting the season and then having a bit of a tougher time, but that's learning. And then since Christmas has just developed into a fantastic player. He's a great character to have around. So we're delighted for him. Jack Aitchinson obviously came in, showed what he can do, and obviously unfortunately got an injury. But again, developed, learned, lived away from home, which is always tough. So he's probably hopefully developed as a man in terms of these circumstances, living in a hotel on his own with no one around because of COVID. So that was tough for him, but hopefully he's developed and grown as a person. And then Matty Stevens came in, probably didn't get as much game time as we would have liked. But because of the form of Elliot and Luke. So, for him, he scored a crucial goal for us away at Grimsby, which, was huge. So we'll always be thankful for that. And he's gone back to Forest Green with our blessings because they're in the playoffs and such a top character that we hope he goes and has an impact there. And obviously Jamie Cumming has been fantastic all season. He's played nearly 50 games for a 21-year-old keeper, and he's a fantastic person, professional attitude, and I'm sure we all hope here that he goes on to amazing things, because he's been superb this year.
Now, 5 players who we are currently in discussions with, 5 players who've all played a huge role of last season. What can you tell us about the latest developments with them?
Well, we obviously want to keep those players. They've been fantastic this year. I think that they've grown within the group. There's players there that haven't played that many games in a season, and all of a sudden have played 40-something games. You know, Cokes has grown. He's grown into a fantastic left back for us. Lyons has come in in January, made a huge difference. And he came in from a club where he was struggling to get games, but again, his appetite and his desire to play. So they're the types that we want to keep here. Luther has had a fantastic season. He's grown again as a player. We've seen huge improvements in Luther, and so we'd like to definitely make sure Luther's here next year, because we want to develop him, and we want to make him become one of the best right backs in the country. So that's what we believe in. And obviously Charlie Carter, we know what Charlie can do. I think that he has shown that in bits here, but we all believe in what Charlie Carter is, and we believe that there's a position for him to play, and we'll be looking to make sure we develop him in that position and get the best out of him. And then with Tom Pett, I think discussions with him are ongoing, but I think that his personal life may mean that he needs to move further up the country away from us. So he's had a huge impact in this team, and he's been a pleasure to watch at times. Obviously we'd love to keep Tom. I think that he's been someone that, like I said, has grown hugely and help people on the training pitch, but ultimately personal life, will determine that. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So there's some, they're all waiting. They've all got the contracts, and they're all going to be discussions, because that's what the summer brings. So we'll try our hardest to make sure that those players are with us next year. But ultimately, as a football club, we can only do what we can do. We have to make sure that we protect the future of the football club. We have to make sure that we bring in the right players, and the players that they want to be here, they want to make sure they're here and be a part of this environment, be a part of what we're trying to build, and be a part of the push, hopefully, that we can have next season and finish higher than we were, playing the way that we want to play, with a group of players that love doing what they do. So that's what we're trying to achieve, and we're working extremely hard to make sure that happens.
Perfect, thank you, Revs.
Cheers, mate.